Tonight, the sports world is in mourning, as not just the entire sports world, but the sport of professional football lost a true pioneer of the game. Tonight, on this very special edition of Strictly Sports, we will pay our respects and share our favorite standout memories of the man, the myth, the legend, and the entrepreneur of one of the greatest video game franchises of all time, John Madden. Hello, friends, and welcome to this very special edition of Strictly Sports. This is still going to be our 2021 year in review special. I am your host, Anthony Florio, and I am joined, as always, by good old MF Michael Fletcher and Michael Bullock. It's been a while since we've had to start a show like this, but unfortunately, we have to start the show like this because this name is too big to just bypass. Earlier today, even though it was not reported until about 3 hours ago, Michael Bullock shared it in our Strictly Sports Facebook Messenger chat. And MF got word of it, and MF said we should start the show off with this. I could not have agreed more. And that's what we're starting off with here tonight. We're still going to do what we're going to do here tonight. We're still going to share our, we'll get into all the big moments in the world of sports in 2021 and our New Year's Six bowl games preview as well. But we're going to take a few minutes to pay our respects to John Madden, who passed away earlier today at the age of 85. A player, an assistant coach, a head coach, a legendary broadcaster, and the man responsible for launching one of, if not the greatest one of the greatest video game franchises in the history of video games, that being the Madden franchise. If you could bear with me for one moment, I'm going to drop that for one moment as I run down his legendary resume. He only played for one team, and that one team was with the Philadelphia Eagles in 1958. But it was only in the offseason and or practice squad member only. He started as an assistant coach from 1960 to 1961 at Allen Hancock College. It's a public community college in Santa Maria, California. And then from 1962 to 1963, for that very same school, he became the head coach of it. And then from 1964 to 1966, he served as the defensive coordinator for the San Diego State Aztecs. And then in 1967, that's when he was introduced to the NFL as a coach. He was a linebackers coach for the Oakland Raiders from 1967 to 1968. And then from 1969 to 1978, he was the head coach of the Oakland Raiders. During which, in 1976, Super Bowl, the season that coincided with Super Bowl 11 that was played in January of 1977, he led the Oakland Raiders to the first of their 3 Super Bowl championships. That was in Super Bowl 11, a 32-14 victory over the Minnesota Vikings at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. Won an AFL championship in 1967. Was the PFW AFL Coach of the Year in 1969. And when his coaching career was over, he had a regular season win-loss record of 103, 32, and 7, which is a winning percentage of 76.3. A playoff record of 9-7, and his overall record, his final record was 112, 39, and 7. And then in 1979, he began his legendary broadcasting career. where he joined CBS as a color commentator. After working lower-profile contests during his first years, he was elevated to the network's top football broadcasting duo with Pat Summerall in 1981, where Summerall replaced Tom Brookshire. Prior to teaming with Summerall on CBS, Madden was paired with a variety of announcers, such as Dick Stockton, Frank Gleber, and Gary Bender. But one of the most well-known, if not the greatest, broadcasting duo in the history of sports. The team of Madden and Summerall would go on to call 8 Super Bowls together, 5 for CBS and 3 for Fox. On occasions in which Summerall was unavailable during the CBS years, Summerall was normally scheduled to commentate on the U.S. Open tennis tournament during the early weeks of the NFL season. Madden would team with the likes of Vince Scully and subsequently Vern Lundquist. On their final CBS telecast together, the NFC Championship game on January 23rd of 94, Madden told Summerall that while CBS may no longer have the NFL, at least they have the memories. And on ABC's final Monday Night Football telecast in 2005, Madden used a similar choice of words. So from 1979 and 1993, he was with CBS. And then from 1994 to 2001, he was with Fox when Fox gained the rights to NFC games in 1994. The CBS employees became free agents. Madden was the biggest star in football broadcasting. All the networks made offers to him, higher than $2 million a year maximum for sportscaster salaries. But Madden and Summerall eventually came together, and the rest was history. And his last job at Fox was along with Pat Summerall, was with Super Bowl 36, February of 2002, when the New England Patriots defeated the St. Louis Rams 20-17 at the Superdome in New Orleans. And then from 2002 to 2005, he joined ABC's Monday Night Football, working with longtime play-by-play announcer Al Michaels. And then from 2006 to 2008, he signed with NBC Sports, reuniting with Al Michaels. And his final game was Super Bowl 43, February 1st of 2009. The Pittsburgh Steelers defeating the Arizona Cardinals, one of the great Super Bowls of all time. And then April the 16th of 2009, John Madden officially announced his retirement from the broadcasting booth and was succeeded by Chris Collinsworth, who is still in that same position to this day. He also worked in radio. He also appeared in such films as Little Giants, and also in the film The Replacements, alongside his longtime partner Pat Summerall. And this past Saturday, on Christmas Day, the Fox network presented All Madden, a documentary highlighting Madden's rise to stardom as an NFL coach and broadcaster. Former and current NFL players appeared in the film, which premiered prior to the Christmas Day football game that aired on Fox, a game between the Cleveland Browns and the Green Bay Packers from Lambeau. He also appeared in many commercials, including Ace Hardware, Outback Steakhouse, Verizon Wireless, Renner Center, Miller Lite, Toyota, Sirius Satellite Radio, and Tough Actin' Tenactin. And then appeared in an episode of The Simpsons. Also hosted an episode of NBC Saturday Night Live in 1982 with the musical guest of Jennifer Holliday. And he also appeared in U2's music video for the song Stuck in a Moment You Can't Get Out of, an MF favorite. And he also appeared in Paul Simon's 1972 single, Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard. And, of course, the Madden busts, obviously. And, of course, the Madden video game. 1988. From 1988 on, John Madden lent his voice, personality, and name to the Madden NFL series of football video games published by EA Sports. Entries in the series have consistently been bestsellers to the extent that they have spawned TV shows featuring competition between players of the games. Despite Madden's retirement as a broadcaster in 2009, he still continued to lend his name and provide creative input to the series, which was so popular he became better known as the face of Madden than as a Super Bowl winning coach and broadcaster up until his death. And he viewed the game as an educational tool, During initial planning conversations with EA founder Trip Hawkins in 1984, Madden envisioned the program as a tool for teaching and testing plays. He stated in 2012 that Madden NFL was a way for people to learn the game of football and participate in the game at a pretty sophisticated level. And of course, we all know the All Madden team. We all know that. And he won 16 Emmy Awards, NSMA National Sportscaster of the Year in 1984, came in at number 2 on Yahoo Sports Top 50 All-Time Network Television Sports Announcers, went into the NFL Hall of Fame with the Pete Rozelle Radio Television Award in 2002, inducted into the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame in 1991, 2006 took his rightful place in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, 2009 inducted into the California Hall of Fame, and then in 2010 inducted into the NSMA Hall of Fame. And then he passed away today. And of course, Thanksgiving. Let's not forget Thanksgiving, those Thanksgiving Day games for CBS and Fox with Pat Summerall, would award a turkey or the turducken to players of the winning team with the drumstick. And they continued the tradition with the NFL Network presenting the Galloping Gobbler, the All-Iron Award, the Pudding Pie Award to the game's MVP. Of course, the bus. We all know the legendary bus, obviously, which he didn't like. He hated to fly. He was afraid to fly. And that's why he had that legendary bus of his. And then today he passed away at the age of 85. And NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell released a statement saying, on behalf of the entire NFL family, we extend our condolences to Virginia, Mike, Joe, and their families. We all know John Madden as the Hall of Fame coach of the Oakland Raiders and broadcaster who worked for every major network. But more than anything, he was a devoted husband, father, and grandfather. Nobody loved football more than Coach. He was football. He was an incredible sounding board to me and so many others. There will never be another John Madden, and we will forever be indebted to him for all he did to make football in the NFL what it is today. So with that being said, on behalf of all of us here at Strictly Sports, we would like to send our thoughts and prayers and condolences to his wife, Virginia, and his sons, Mike and Joe, and the rest of his, and the entire Madden family and all of his friends and everybody that he was fortunate enough to work with him, whether on his coaching staff or as a broadcaster. But as we always like to say, to you, John Madden, we simply say, thank you for the memories. Thank you for the memories. And most of all, thank you. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration. And most of all, thank you for John Madden. And we'll simply never forget you, sir. Rest in peace. That's all there is to say on that. And one funny memory I want to share before I give it to good old MF Michael Fletcher, and that is, even though this had nothing to do with him, it was at the 1994 Royal Rumble when the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase was joining Vince McMahon at the broadcast on that night. And he said, John Madden, that peanut. I mean, we'll never forget that moment. Said he should have held out for more money, and we all know how that was, but that was a funny memory. But with that being said, I'm going to bring in good old MF Michael Fletcher and MF. I mean, there have been so many memorable commentary duos over the years. Of course, when it comes to the world of professional wrestling, many say the greatest in that field was Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. Mm-hmm. In the world of sports, many say nowadays it's you and me, but you and me wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for the duo that really inspired us, and that was Pat Summerall and John Madden.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to, and I'll even say it, if you think about the NHL, everybody talks about Gary Thorne and Bill Clement. When it was in the NBA, it was Marv Albert and Mike Fratello. When it was in Major League Baseball, it was Jack Buck and Tim McCarver. Now, Joe and even Joe Buck and Tim McCarver. That duo was great. But yeah, in the NFL, it was Summerall and Madden. And, you knew it was must-see TV when them two were working. And it didn't matter what the game was. Whenever they were doing your game, it was something special. John Madden just had this art that was so unique about him. And they never got too hyped up for the moment. And I think that's why a lot of people loved it, is because they were storytellers. Especially when it's Madden, his artistry, especially the way he talked or eloquate a play, he broke it down X's and O's. And I think that's really why I got into it early on. And when I started out, I was the lead. But I think a lot of people realize I was more stronger. And the first person that I did when I did the transition to the analyst position was I was studying Madden. I was studying his style, what he brings, the X's and O's, the way that he was using the telestrator. And I've been able to incorporate it in such a way now that, like you said, it's a dream come true that we do what we love every Sunday. And yeah, this is the same thing. It was unbelievable what this man had done. I remember reading, seeing the videos of him being, the coach of the Raiders, and some of the battles that they had, the Steelers, the Dolphins, the Bills, especially during those AFL days, and especially the integration with the NFL. The Raiders are one of those teams that stood the test of time. But for him to transition so seamlessly, so smoothly into the broadcasting booth and become literally an icon in his own right. He was a great NFL coach, but I think he's a better announcer, a better play-by-play guy, a better analyst. And he really revolutionized that spot and made himself as a big star, without a doubt. But like you said, Anthony, it was also the creation of the Madden games. Now, there's been a lot of flack about the Madden games, especially during the last few years, with certain things that has angered some gamers and whatnot. But every time Madden was on there, you knew it was a must-have game. It didn't matter what the year was, you needed the Madden game. And as a matter of fact, even still to this very day, yes, there's the talk about the Madden curse. If you get on the cover, normally your career, either you get an injury or your season's not that great. Tom Brady broke that curse quick when he won his Super Bowl. But the one thing that we were always amped about, that got me amped, is that during the Super Bowl weekend, there was what they called the game before the game. It was a special Madden where they actually play out the Super Bowl matchup. Whoever the two teams are, they play it out. And as a matter of fact, almost 85% of the time, the team that's won that game went on to win the Super Bowl that year. 85% accuracy rate. No other sport has come even close to what the Madden thing has done. Another tip at the cap, another whatever you want to call it, to the legacy and longevity of one of the greatest to ever do it. For me, John Madden will always be synonymous with football. He'll always be synonymous with the AFC, with the Raiders, and everything else. But the thing is that when I started watching the NFL, and it was NBC and CBS, they were the two networks that had it back in the day. You had ABC doing Monday Night Football, NBC had the AFC, CBS had the NFC. That's where I grew up. And it was back in that day. Paul McGuire with Dick Enberg and Pat Summerall with John Madden. Those were the teams that really thrived and made our Sundays very enjoyable. My thoughts and prayers are with the Madden family, to all the fans out there today. And I even said it on a Facebook post. Today is a sad day. Today is a heart-wrenching day, and it's a day that we're gonna remember where we were when this happened. Um, we could say this is like when Kobe Bryant died. This is another icon to the game, another legend that has been taken from us. Um, and Madden is without a doubt, he's football. He was the heart and soul of the NFL. He's one of the pioneers of the NFL. If you want to talk about a coaching tree of some of the greatest, we can talk about Bill Walsh. We can talk about Vince Lombardi. John Madden is in that conversation. John Madden is you could even say, if there's a Mount Rushmore of the greatest coaches of all time, I don't think you can deny that Madden deserves to at least be in consideration for that Mount Rushmore. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, you can definitely say that this is definitely a sad day, not only in the sports world, but obviously the football world. I mean, John Madden is definitely an icon. I mean, yes, he had 10 really good seasons with the Oakland Raiders. Never had a losing season, of course, like you said, winning Super Bowl 11. But he'll mostly be remembered for being a commentator, especially my favorite duo when it comes to football. I mean, you've got some right now, but to me, nobody could do it more. And the best pairing to me was obviously, like you guys said, John Madden and Pat Summerall. They made Sundays so entertaining just listening to their commentary. John Madden's unique way of breaking down certain plays, and especially when he uses that phrase when somebody makes a big hit, that's when he goes, boom! And that's what I always loved about it. I mean, I always loved it when he does that. And of course, Thanksgiving Day, of course, with the famous turducken, and and especially that time with Al Michaels, where he basically broke it broke it all down. And of course, the last game that those two, Pat Summerall and John Madden did, like you said, was Super Bowl 36, the Patriots' first Super Bowl title. And then John Madden goes to work with Al Michaels first for ABC's Monday Night Football, and of course, Super Bowls 37 and 40. And then, of course, over to NBC, of course, doing Super Bowl 43, which turned out to be his final game he did as a commentator, and retired afterwards. And of course, who could ever forget all those Madden NFL games? I mean, I always enjoyed playing them, whether it was renting it from the days, of course, of Sega Genesis, or of course with Nintendo 64, or of course right now with Xbox. And I always enjoyed playing those games every single time. And of course those commercials, of course he's famous for the Madden Cruiser, of course being in commercials like especially Outback Steakhouse. So Yeah, I mean, and I watched that all Madden or that Madden documentary and on Christmas Day, and boy howdy, that was something. I mean, hearing it from current and former players and coaches to the current commissioner and what John Madden meant to the game, and you could tell how much everybody respected him. So, on behalf of all of us here at Strictly Sports, we all want to send our prayers to John Madden's wife, Virginia, his two sons, everybody else in the Madden family, and of course those who knew this very special man. And yeah, there's really nothing more to say except as tough as it is, Florio, we got to move on. As much as as tough as it is.
Indeed, indeed, and it is hard to move on, but it's a classic case of the show must go on, and what we're going to do now is, and by the way, before we do that, this Thursday's edition of NFL Thursday will be dedicated to the memory of John Madden. So this Thursday's NFL Thursday, when we do our Week 17 edition of it, that one's going to be for you, John Madden, no doubt about that. So with that being said, let's move on, and we're going to move on now to what we had originally scheduled to do. We were hoping we weren't going to have to start the show in that painful way, but we had to. But we're going to get in. We're going to uplift the spirits now, and on a much lighter note, move on to the two things we intended to do tonight. And the first things first, and that is, our moments of the year, our standout moments of 2021 in the world of sports. And it's always the same thing. It's always, the championship moments, the big moments in the world of sports. And of course, we started off this year with the college football playoff national championship, where in the final game, it was the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And it was Alabama who flexed their muscle and added to their legendary dynasty by winning yet another college football playoff national championship game, another championship in that trophy case, Nick Saban and Alabama adding to their dynasty. And it started out exciting, but then Alabama flexed their muscle in the second half, and then it was all about Bama after that. And then in February 7th of this year, I remember it very vividly. Here in Rhode Island, it was a very snowy night. Unfortunately, me, MF, and Bullock, we were unable to have a Super Bowl get-together, not just because of COVID, but also because of, it was also a very snowy night, and the snowy weather put the kibosh on that altogether. So we watched from here, from our respective homes, as it was Super Bowl 55, Raymond James Stadium, Tampa, Florida, where it was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers making history by becoming the first team ever to be literally the home team in the Super Bowl. Never been done before. And they went up against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the game was not even close. It was one of the most dominant Super Bowl championship performances we've seen in a while, probably since Seattle and Denver in 48. But it was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeating the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9 to win their second Super Bowl championship and their first in 18 years, concluding what was a COVID-induced season where a great majority of that season there were no fans in attendance, but there was limited fans. I think they had about 25,000 for that one, just like with WrestleMania this year, obviously, in that same venue a couple months later. But the Buccaneers did it all, and Tom Brady adding to his legendary legacy, love him or hate him, he cemented his legacy as the GOAT and captured another Super Bowl championship, his seventh, to go with the 6 he won with the Patriots. And then from there, we had the return of March Madness. In 2020, we did not have March Madness. That was right as the coronavirus pandemic started. Unfortunately, to this day, it's still wreaking havoc, and right now, it's wreaking the most havoc probably since it started, and it's the worst it's been probably since then. And unfortunately, in 2020, we not only lost out on everything March Madness. We lost out not just on the NCAA tournament. We also had lost out on the conference tournaments as well. But this time around, this year, we got the tournaments back, but they were conduced to the state of Indiana in order to reduce travel, and they managed to somehow pull it off. Limited fans for the games, if not no fans. And at the end of it all, it was the Baylor Bears winning their first NCAA tournament championship since 1950 with a victory over Gonzaga in the national championship game. But we all know the game of the tournament, if not the game of the year in the world of sports, it was Gonzaga and UCLA in that Final Four semifinal game 2 nights before. A game that MF had the pleasure of calling, and Gonzaga winning on that half court buzzer beater by Jalen Suggs that won it for Gonzaga in what was a 5-star Shakespearean drama classic. But it was Baylor who ultimately won the national championship, their first since 1950. Over on the women's side, Stanford won the national championship on their end, cementing their coach's legacy, Tara Vanderveer. And I remember she won an ESPY award this past year for that. So Stanford winning it on the women's end. And then in the NBA. But actually before that, it was the NHL. The NHL crowned their champion before the NBA. So I'm gonna transpose this order here. Because then it was the NHL. It was then on July. It was July. I believe it was the 7th. It was on July the 7th, where the NHL season, as we all know, the NHL season, another COVID-induced season. Of course, this one's been COVID-induced as well. They finally just got back to playing after having to take a week off, not just because of the Christmas holidays, but also because of COVID as well. But they were their number of games was reduced. I think it was 56 games, I believe, was the number, and they had divisions within their regions to reduce travel, including an all-Canadian division. And when all was said and done, the Tampa Bay Lightning, for the second year in a row, captured the Stanley Cup. They won the Stanley Cup in 2020. September of 2020, late September of 2020, beating the Dallas Stars. Almost 10 months later, they won their second Stanley Cup with a 5-game series win over the Cinderella Montreal Canadiens, who had the worst record and the lowest points out of all the Stanley Cup playoff teams this year. A remarkable run by the Montreal Canadiens, and the Tampa Bay Lightning captured their second consecutive Stanley Cup in a season that, even though it was COVID-induced, they still managed to get it done. It was 56 games. Unfortunately, we did not get a Winter Classic, and there was also no All-Star game. But knock on wood, we will have the Winter Classic this Saturday night with the St. Louis Blues and the Minnesota Wild at Target Field, and then February 4th, the skills competition, and February the 5th, the All-Star game itself. I believe it'll be at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. So, knock on wood, hopefully COVID doesn't wreak havoc on that. It did wreak havoc, though, when it comes to the upcoming Winter Olympics. We were supposed to have NHL players, but unfortunately, because of obviously what's going on with COVID and the Omicron variant, with the way that's been wreaking havoc, and considering the fact that it's in China, obviously they didn't want to take any chances. So unfortunately, we will not have any NHL players. So that definitely puts a major damper on the ice hockey tournament. MF and I were looking so forward to that, but unfortunately, that's not going to be the case this time around. So, but nonetheless, the Tampa Bay Lightning winning their second straight Stanley Cup this past July. And then in the NBA, they had the same issue on their hand, but they reduced their regular season from 82 games to 72 games, and they started to slowly welcome the fans back, and the Utah Jazz finished with the best record, but it was ultimately the Milwaukee Bucks for the first time in 50 years. 1971 was their last title. They finally won the NBA championship, doing so in grand fashion, putting away the Phoenix Suns in the NBA Finals. They fell behind 2-0 to Phoenix, and then Milwaukee won 4 straight to win the championship, and did so at Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee. Tampa Bay Lightning won their Stanley Cup at their home, the Amalie Arena in Tampa. So that was their third Stanley Cup. This is the second championship for the Bucks. And finally, Major League Baseball. 2020, Uncle COVID obviously put the kibosh on a full 162-game season, as that season was literally cut from 162 games all the way down to 60 games. And in 2020, it was the Los Angeles Dodgers who ran away with all of it. But this year, we got the 162 games in. We got the fans back. The San Francisco Giants finished with the best record, 107 wins. The LA Dodgers right behind at 106 wins. But believe it or not, neither of them won the World Series. Good old MF Michael Fletcher had to wait 9,503 days, because it was on November the 2nd, just 8 weeks ago, we did a special edition of Ridiculously Raw, as you all remember, which was one of our most watched broadcasts, if not our most watched broadcast of 2021. As that was the night where myself, MF, Michael Bullock, as well as Dee Dee Woodson, we reviewed the Monday Night Raw from the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence, where we all went to. But 24 hours later on that night, and we even did the commentary. And it was good old MF Michael Fletcher and his Atlanta Braves, who did the unthinkable. They had the worst record of all the playoff teams. They had a 0.3% chance of winning it all. And yet, somehow, they won it all. For the first time since 1995. They defeated the Milwaukee Brewers in the division series in 4 games, the upstart Brewers. In the NLCS, they went up against the team that many had predicted to go all the way, including myself. I'll even go on the record and say I had the LA Dodgers winning it all once again, especially after they beat the Giants in the division series. But they beat the LA Dodgers, the heavily favored Dodgers, in 6 games to win their first pennant since 1999. And then in the World Series against the Houston Astros, a 6-game series win, doing so in Houston behind a masterful pitching performance from their ace, Max Fried. A taser, moonbeam, laser rocket home run by Jorge Soler, which, oh, by the way, is still floating up there to this moment. Right up there with Albert Pujols' shot that he hit 16 years earlier. And then also with a homer by Dansby Swanson, and then some RBI hits by Freddie Freeman as well. And that was all that they needed, a 7-0 win in Game 6 to seal the Atlanta Braves' first World Series championship since 1995. and a night, and it was on that night where good old MF Michael Fletcher's teams started going on this massive roll of a lifetime, because then his Michigan Wolverines knocked off Ohio State, won the Big Ten football championship, and this Friday night we'll be playing in the college football playoff for the first time ever when they take on the Maine and Georgia Bulldogs in the Orange Bowl on this Friday night on New Year's Eve, which we'll get into in a little bit. His Miami Dolphins started 1-7. They're now 8-7. They're a playoff team as of now, and they could be in the playoffs if all goes well for them down with these couple of games left. The Chicago Bulls, the biggest surprise in the NBA so far. They're currently the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, only behind the Brooklyn Nets. And the only team that I'm with MF on, even though, I'm starting to slowly get back into the Chicago Bulls side of things, because I started to lose interest. But the team that MF and I, we follow diehard and religiously, that team is the New York Rangers. And they are one of the top teams in the NHL right now, despite all this COVID BS. So very exciting stuff, to say the very least. But all those great moments, and how fitting was it that for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Milwaukee Bucks, they got to do it in front of their home fans, with fans in attendance. The Atlanta Braves almost did it in front of their home fans, but the Astros spoiled their plans in Game 5. But Atlanta put it away in Houston in Game 6, even though they had traveling Braves fans with them, and that was all they needed. And all those moments were great, but for me, my favorite moment of the year was hands down seeing the Atlanta Braves win the World Series, especially for MF. And I know to this day he's still in the state of shock, and I don't think he's come off that high as of yet. So a great year in 2021, and I cannot wait to see what 2022 has in store. Of course, it starts with the college football playoffs, the national championship game which will be taking place on January the 10th at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. The 2 winners of the playoff games that will go down this Friday, and we'll see who ends up playing in that. And then, of course, February the 13th, we got Super Bowl 56 at the beautiful new SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, on NBC. Looking forward to that, regardless of who gets there, even though the 3 of us would love to see our respective teams get there. I know I would, especially, but we'll wait and see. And of course, hopefully all this COVID stuff will be over and we can really start getting back to normal. And then we can have, the Stanley Cup playoffs go off without a hitch. The NBA playoffs go off without a hitch. The NCAA tournament and the conference tournaments and all that. And of course, Major League Baseball, hopefully they can get their season off the ground. They can have another full season and have fans in attendance at their respective stadiums, and we can crown a winner there. So knock on wood, that's all we can say. So great year for 2021, no doubt about that. But not much more to say. Good old MF Michael Fletcher. I mean, we had so many great memorable so many great sports memories in 2021, all those great championship wins. But I know, just like with me, but more so for you, I know what your number one moment of 2021 is. And it's a moment that I know you're still reveling in to this day, 8 weeks later, when your Atlanta Braves did the unthinkable. 0.3% chance to win, but yet they won it all.
Yeah. It's been an incredible 2021. I think the biggest thing is that the fans are back. I think 2020, it kind of felt like a ghost town. It felt like something was missing. Yeah, some fans did come back in some capacity towards the end of the year, but I mean, we were crippled in 2020. 21, it felt like things were coming back to normal. Like you said, the NFL was the first thing to do it. The college football playoff was back. We crowned the champion, which was awesome. Then we had the Super Bowl. And, for what it was worth, it was still we were so excited because we were back where we were. We're back, doing what we love, doing the Super Bowl, doing the game. And at the end, it was a good night. Yes, it was a blowout. Yes, it wasn't the best Super Bowl we've done in recent years. I know, Anthony, we've had games where we've had very thrilling to the Shakespearean drama and everything else. And then we have nights like happened in Tampa. I think the last time we ever had a boring night like that, I think we got to go all the way back to when Seattle crushed Denver in New York at MetLife, and that disaster of a Super Bowl. But nah, man. I mean, look, sometimes you get great games, and other nights the team just got their number, and that's how that played out. Not what we expected, not what we thought, but yeah, absolutely. It was an incredible evening for Tampa. And then, yeah, later in the year, we had the NCAA tournament. We were excited. For the first time ever, the entire tournament was held in Indiana. It was all in Indianapolis, in the suburbs of Indiana, wherever you had it. It was down in there. The Final Four, actually the Elite Eight and Final Four, all held inside Lucas Oil Stadium. It was an incredible feeling being in that arena. And then, like you said, the Final Four game. I mean, oh my God, man. I don't even know how I survived. And then I still had one more game to go because I still had the national championship. But the national championship, it ended up being somewhat of a dud, if you honestly think about it. Baylor just absolutely blew out Gonzaga. Gonzaga was undefeated. Everybody thought that maybe, just maybe, they might do the unthinkable and become a very rarefied air moment where one of the very few to say that they've gone undefeated and win the national championship. And Baylor's like, yeah, about that. Nope. And it was Baylor cutting down the nets as the national champions in college basketball. Incredible moment for them. Obviously, yeah, then in the NHL, it was Tampa Bay solidifying themselves as the next possible major dynasty in the National Hockey League by successfully defending the title, going back-to-back years as Stanley Cup champions. And then, like you also said, Anthony, with Milwaukee, Giannis Antetokounmpo finally solidifying himself as the best basketball player in the world, or as of right now, as the NBA world champion. This was something that he was trying to get for a number of years. He finally got it. And just like with Alexander Ovechkin winning the Stanley Cup, he basically was with that Larry O'Brien trophy for a good week all over the city of Milwaukee. I mean, he could not be separated away from that trophy. That's what it means. That's what it meant to him. And it was an incredible moment. Yes, there was a Summer Olympics Games this year. Normally, it would have been held in 2020, but it got bumped to 2021. COVID, as always. But it just didn't have the same impact like it did. Even though the Olympic Games were excellent, but you could tell something was missing in those games. Not having the fans there really affected it. The level of competition, the level of play. But the U.S. won the most gold medals. They won the most overall medals. They had over 107 medals to 47 gold in the Olympic Games, which was a remarkable number for them, and actually a record for Team USA. And now we'll wait and see what happens beyond that. And then, yes, the end of it all was the Atlanta Braves winning the World Series. I'm still kind of walking in a daze. I'm still kind of thinking, man, I cannot believe that just happened. We just won the World Series, man. And yes, it's 8 weeks ago. Yes, it was one of the highest rated wrestling forum shows we've had all year when that happened. Um, it, it's one of those where you just feel like you can't believe you it's almost like you'll believe it when you see it, but now it's reality, and now it really did happen, and we're kind of standing here in a daze like, oh my god, did this just really happen? Did we just win the World Series? And yeah, and like you said, it has parlayed into an incredible year. The Miami Dolphins started out at 1-7. Now they're 8-7, right in the thick of the wild card. The Rangers are playing really good. Chicago, the top one of the top seeds in the NBA. So yeah, I mean, as far as me sports wise, I've had a pretty good you could say 2021, and definitely going into 2022. I got some momentum on my side right about now. I got some headwinds blowing, so hopefully we'll keep the good times will keep rolling. And yeah, I don't think there's really anything more to say. 2021 was a very interesting year once it started at the beginning, but I hope that 2022 we can continue it, but we'll see, because it looks like uh, this COVID situation is not leaving us anytime soon, man. So we'll see how it plays out. But nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, it's all yours. Your thoughts.
Yeah, like you said, this has definitely been a very interesting year. Obviously, of course, starting off the year basically with history being made in the NFL, of course, the Buccaneers being the first team to play the Super Bowl basically in their home stadium, and that Super Bowl was not even close as the Bucks blew out the Chiefs, and Tom Brady getting his seventh Super Bowl title, and of course another Super Bowl MVP for him, solidifying himself as the GOAT. And of course, we really started to see return of the fans. Of course, you had the Tampa Bay Lightning, of course, winning the Stanley Cup. The Milwaukee Bucks, of course, winning the NBA championship in front of fans, of course, for both sides. As the fans return, of course, Major League Baseball going forward with their 162 game season, and of course, my team, the Red Sox, surprising everyone and made a great run, of course, in the postseason to only to be eliminated by the Houston Astros in the ALCS. And of course, I too say my favorite moment is basically the Atlanta Braves, of course, winning the World Series, and for the first time since 1995. And of course, we were all very happy for for Michael Fletcher. And of course, we got the college football bowl season going on. The NFL just finishing up with coming out of the stretch with their season. The NBA and the NHL going on right now. So yeah, I mean, there's really nothing more for me to add to it. So I say let's get on to our New Year's Six preview.
Yes, indeed. And that's exactly what we're going to do right here and now. And now we're going to move on to the New Year's Six. And it kicks off this Thursday night, December the 30th, in a game that will be seen over on ESPN, as it will be the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, as it will be the Michigan State Spartans squaring off against the Pittsburgh Panthers. And this game will be over on ESPN. And I am trying to find the. I do have a list here somewhere. I'm just trying to find it. All right, here we go. I got it. December 30th, Peach Bowl. All right. That game will be at on ESPN. Pittsburgh versus Michigan State in the Peach Bowl from Atlanta. ESPN will have it, and it'll be Mark Jones with Robert Griffin III and Quint Kessenich. They will be on the call for that one. And the spread favors it actually favors Michigan State. Michigan State opening up as a 2.5-point favorite. So with that being said, let's dive on in. Number 10 Michigan State meets number 12 Pitt in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl on Thursday night. Kickoff is scheduled for 7 p.m. Eastern at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta on ESPN. Pittsburgh won the ACC championship under Coach Pat Narduzzi this season. The Panthers, however, will be without Heisman finalist Kenny Pickett. The Pitt quarterback opted out of the bowl game to prepare for the NFL draft. That will have a significant impact on an offense that averaged 43 points a game. Michigan State enjoyed an impressive turnaround under second-year coach Mel Tucker. The Spartans, however, will be without Doak Walker Award winner Kenneth Walker III. The standout running back also opted out of the Peach Bowl. Make the case for playoff expansion all you want, knowing two of college football's biggest stars are sitting out of a New Year's Day Six Bowl. That makes this matchup even more unpredictable. With that in mind, here is what you should know about this game. We're not going to really do anything. We're not going to get into the spreads and all that stuff. But we are going to get into the three things we need to watch. And that is, number one, how does Pitt's offense change? Pickett passed for 4,319 yards, 42 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions this season, and set several school records in the process. The Panthers also will be without offensive coordinator Mark Whipple, who resigned to take the same spot at Nebraska. Junior Nick Patty has limited experience the last 3 seasons, and he should have success finding Biletnikoff Award winner Jordan Addison, 1,479 yards and 17 touchdowns, against the worst pass defense in the FBS, allowing about 338 yards a game. Number 2, who picks up for Walker? Walker accounted for 1,715 yards from scrimmage this season for the Spartans. That's 33.2% of the offensive production. Jordan Simmons averaged 4.7 yards a carry in a backup role and figures to see an increased workload. Quarterback Peyton Thorne, 2,886 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, figures to air it out more against a Pitt defense that allowed 257 passing yards a game. And number 3, trick plays. Narduzzi is familiar with Michigan State. He was the defensive coordinator for the Spartans from 2007 to 2014. Mel Tucker, like Pat Narduzzi, is an Ohio native with a defensive background. Both led impressive turnarounds this season, and they are without their star players. That means trick plays and breaking tendencies early could be in the works. And the stat that matters, both teams were penalized too much this season. The Spartans rank 112th in the FBS with 66.3 penalty yards a game. That's one spot ahead of the Panthers, which averaged 66.5 penalty yards a game. With Pickett and Walker out, the offenses cannot afford to get behind schedule. Patty comes into focus in this game. Can he keep the Panthers' offense moving if the running game can't get a push against the tough Spartans' run defense? Will Thorne light up the Panthers' secondary? It's tough to predict what will happen with the star players out, but the game should be entertaining just the same. The Panthers pull out a wild win in the fourth quarter on a touchdown catch by Addison. The Spartans' last-minute drive falls short, and Pitt wins its first New Year's Day Six Bowl. I got Pittsburgh winning. My final score is 30-27. Good MF Michael Fletcher, it is all yours. Pittsburgh, Michigan State in the Peach Bowl.
This is going to be an interesting matchup, no doubt about it. I kind of feel like Pitt, if Walker III would have been playing, I easily would have gone with Michigan State. But I think with Kenneth Walker now out, I feel like they're got a gaping hole now, and I don't think that that's going to be able to overcome what Pitt has done. So I do believe Pitt will win that game. So yeah, I'm with you, Anthony. I'm in an agreement. Pitt should win, and Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I mean, I got Pittsburgh winning this one as well. I mean, if Walker, like you said, was playing, maybe I would give the edge to Michigan State, but he's not, so I gotta give the edge to Pittsburgh. So let's move on to our next game.
And we are going to save the college football playoff semifinals for last. So we're going to move on to the next non-playoff matchup. We're going to move on to the 3 bowl games that will take place on this Saturday on New Year's Day. And it starts with the game that will take place at 1 p.m. on Saturday over on ESPN, as it will be the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. The number 5 Notre Dame Fighting Irish squaring off against the number 9 Oklahoma State Cowboys. State Farm Stadium in Phoenix, Arizona, formerly the University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. On the call for that one will be Bob Wischusen, MF's boy Dan Orlovsky, and Chris Budden. And Notre Dame opening up as 2.5-point favorites. So not much more to say. MF, Notre Dame and Oklahoma State in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. Who you got?
I got to go with Notre Dame. I truly believe that, now that they got the new head coach going in, they're going to want to give him an opportunity. They're going to play for this coach. I think they feel like, they also feel like they had an opportunity to get into the college football playoff. Unfortunately, some things did not go their way. Even though they had an incredible record going in, so they're gonna want to make an example out of Oklahoma State, and they're gonna show the committee that you guys made a mistake. That we should have been in the playoff. We should be battling for the national championship, not playing in this Fiesta Bowl. So I hate to say this, but Oklahoma State, you might have gotten your hearts broken in the Big 12 championship by losing by 1 yard to Baylor. You're about to get more than just broken by Notre Dame. They're spitting mad. They're going to take it out on someone. And I think Oklahoma State is the wrong team at the wrong time, at the wrong place. Notre Dame wins this one. And I'm going to say this is going to be a double-digit victory. 27-17. The Fighting Irish takes down the Cowboys. And nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I mean, I got Notre Dame winning this one as well, because this team, they want to make a statement, because this team feels like that they should be in the college football playoff. But that is not the case here, and this team's definitely going to be wanting to play for pride here. So, yeah, I'm with you, Fletch. I'm going with the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame to win this one. So, Florio, it is yours.
Number 5 Notre Dame meets number 9 Oklahoma State in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl on New Year's Day, Saturday. Kickoff at 1 p.m. State Farm Stadium, Glendale, Arizona on ESPN. Marcus Freeman will make his debut as the head coach for Notre Dame. Freeman takes over for Brian Kelly, who surprised many by taking the LSU job. The Irish have a top 10 defense, and Jack Cohn settled in at quarterback. Star players Kyron Williams and Kyle Hamilton opted out of the bowl game, however. Oklahoma State lost the Big 12 championship in heartbreaking fashion to Baylor, but the Cowboys are back in the New Year's Day 6 Bowl for the first time since 2015 under their coach Mike Gundy. Defensive coordinator Jim Knowles will not coach in the bowl game after taking the same position at Ohio State. The Cowboys also had a top 10 scoring defense. This should be a defensive game as a result. With that in mind, here's what you should know about this game. 3 things to watch. Number 1, Jack Cohn's consistency. Irish offensive coordinator Tommy Rees also stayed on the staff, and his impact on Cohn cannot be understated. Cohn caught on in November with a 4-game stretch in which he completed 76% of his passes with 8 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Chris Tyree will take on lead back duties, and Cohn will keep the connection with tight end Michael Mayer. Number 2, Cowboys no Knowles defense. Gundy did not name an interim defensive coordinator to replace Knowles, but the Cowboys will stay on the attack. 5 different Oklahoma State defenders had at least 10 tackles for loss this season, including second-team All-American linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez, 14 tackles for loss. Oklahoma State shuts down the run, 2.7 yards a carry, and has the second-best defense in the FBS on third down, 26.1%. The Irish have a challenge here. And number 3, Spencer Sanders and turnovers. The Oklahoma State quarterback threw 6 interceptions in the Cowboys' last 2 games, including 4 in the Big 12 championship loss to Baylor. Notre Dame ranked 19th in the FBS in turnover margin at +9. Even without Hamilton in the secondary, it is a talented group that gets after the quarterback. Defensive end Isaiah Foskey, 10 sacks, cooled off in the final month of the season. If he can get consistent pressure, then Sanders might serve up a few turnovers. It would help if running back Jalen Warren, who missed the Big 12 title game with a shoulder and ankle injury, returned. The stat that matters, Notre Dame went 0-4 in BCS Bowls from 1998 to 2013. The Irish are 0-3 in New Year's Day 6 Bowls in the college football playoff era. That combined 0-7 record has haunted a program that has not won a national championship since 1988 and continues to have its blue blood credentials questioned. Freeman can win one of these bowls in his first opportunity, and that could create serious enthusiasm for the Irish heading into next year's opener at Ohio State. It's a huge stage for Marcus Freeman's debut, and the Irish team poised to take advantage of it. Jack Cohn has made work in a high-percentage passing game, and Tyree will provide enough of a spark in the running game to avoid too many third and longs. Notre Dame will build a halftime lead. Oklahoma State will rally, especially if Warren is consistent in the running game. But a late turnover seals a memorable first victory for Notre Dame's new head coach. I'm going with Notre Dame to win. A little closer than you guys have it, but I got Notre Dame winning the Fiesta Bowl, getting the big bowl jinx off our back. I think they're due. Notre Dame wins. My final score, 26-21. Notre Dame wins. So with that, we move on to the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl game. As just bear with me for one moment as I get the notes ready, and here we go. The number 6 Ohio State Buckeyes squaring off against the number 11 Utah Utes in the Capital One Rose Bowl game. Kickoff is scheduled for 5 p.m. at the legendary Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. On ESPN, the 108th edition of the granddaddy of them all. And on the call for that one will be Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe, and Tiffany Blackman. They will be on the call for that one. And Ohio State opening up as a 4.5-point favorite. So, Michael Bullock, we started with you. Ohio State, Utah, the granddaddy of them all, the 108th Rose Bowl game. Who you got?
You talk about another team that's definitely got a lot to play for. I mean, Ohio State, this team looked like they were in line to make the college football playoff, but of course, we all know what happened. Michigan spoiled their fun and knocked them out. So this team is definitely going to want to come out and definitely play for pride here. And this isn't their first time playing in the granddaddy of them all. I mean, they've played in this before, so this school does have some experience. I mean, the players. I can only imagine what the players from both sides are going to be like. I mean, playing in this in the Rose Bowl game. I always look forward to it. It's definitely one of my favorite bowl games. So, but yeah, I got Ohio State winning this one. So, nothing more to say except Florio. It's the granddaddy of them all.
Indeed it is, Bullock. And Ohio State is making its 17th Rose Bowl appearance and third under their third-year coach, Ryan Day. Heisman Trophy finalist C.J. Stroud leads an offense that topped the FBS with 551.4 yards a game in 2021. The Buckeyes could have a few key players opt out, but Stroud has more than enough talent to work with. Utah won the Pac-12 championship and is making its first Rose Bowl appearance. The Utes closed the season on a 6-game winning streak under veteran coach Kyle Whittingham, and that no-nonsense formula could work against Ohio State. And with that in mind, here's what you should know about this game. The three things to watch. Number 1, is Ohio State ready to play? It's almost unfathomable to think of the Rose Bowl as a consolation prize for the Buckeyes, but that is the case. Ohio State has made 2 previous appearances in this game since the BCS era. The Buckeyes beat Oregon 26-17 in the 2010 Rose Bowl and beat Washington 28-23 in the 2019 Rose Bowl. The latter was Urban Meyer's final game, and Ohio State jumped out to a 28-3 lead. Day was the offensive coordinator that season, so he can build on that experience. Number 2, who is C.J. Stroud throwing to? Stroud passed for 3,862 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions for the Buckeyes this season. Star receivers Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson have not made their intentions clear for the Rose Bowl, but even if they opt out, the Buckeyes have options at receiver. Second-team All-American Jackson Smith and Jigba broke out with 80 catches, 1,259 yards, and 6 touchdowns this year. Amika Egbuka, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Julian Fleming also could see more targets. Utah allowed 242 passing yards a game this season, and it'll be a challenge for their secondary no matter who is in at receiver. And number 3, follow the model. It's a good bet Utah will follow the model set by Oregon and Michigan. Cameron Rising must make high-percentage throws, and running backs Tavion Thomas, 1,041 yards and 20 touchdowns, and TJ Pledger, 671 yards, 10 touchdowns, will hammer away at an Ohio State run defense that allowed an average of 283 rushing yards in those losses to the Ducks and Wolverines. On defense, first-team All-American linebacker Devin Lloyd, 107 tackles, 7 sacks, 4 interceptions, could take over a game. Stat that matters, the Utes are 11-3 in bowl games under Kyle Whittingham through a journey that has gone from the Mountain West Conference to the Pac-12. It is a historic bowl appearance for the program, and there is no doubt they will be engaged for this bowl game. This could be a game where Rising has to throw 30 or more times, and the Utes are just 2-2 in those games. Rising, however, has 9 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in those contests. He can have success against the Ohio State defense. In the loss to Michigan, Ohio State got away from Trevion Henderson in spots. The talented freshman running back had 1,172 yards and 15 touchdowns, and the Buckeyes might rely on him to loosen up that middle of the Utah defense early. Expect Stroud to get on track from there. The Utes will have success on the ground, but it'll be more of a challenge playing from behind after the first quarter. Stroud wins Rose Bowl MVP honors, and the Buckeyes use this to launch their Big Ten redemption tour in 2022. I've got Ohio State winning the Rose Bowl. My final score, 35-23. Ohio State beats Utah in the Rose Bowl. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, this is your favorite bowl game. It's only fitting that you wrap this one up. So Rose Bowl, Ohio State, Utah, 108th edition. It's all yours, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This is going to be an interesting matchup. This is going to be a great game, to say the very least. I'm going to say it. I believe when it's all said and done, it will be Ohio State winning. So, yeah, I'm with you guys on this one. Ohio State should win it. Anthony, I do believe we got one more left before we get into the big ones.
Yes, indeed, and that is the All-State Sugar Bowl, as it will feature the number 7 Baylor Bears squaring off against the number 8 Ole Miss Rebels. Kickoff is scheduled for 8:45 p.m. Eastern at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana, on ESPN. And on the call for that one will be Joe Tessitore, Greg McElroy, and Katie George. And Ole Miss opening up as a 1.5-point favorite. Baylor won the Big 12 championship under Coach Dave Aranda with a running game that averaged 214.7 yards a game and a defense that allowed just 19.2 points a game. Backup quarterback Blake Sharpen played well in place of Jerry Bohannon late in the season, and second-team All-American safety Jalen Petrie anchors that tough defense. The Bears played in the Sugar Bowl after the 2019 season. Ole Miss hit double-digit wins under second-year coach Lane Kiffin with an exciting offense that ranked 4th in the FBS with 506.7 yards a game. Quarterback Matt Corral will play in the bowl game, and offensive coordinator Jeff Levy is staying on before departing to take the same job at Oklahoma. The Rebels won the Sugar Bowl after the 2015 season. And here's what you need to know about this game. The 3 things to watch, of course. Number 1, Baylor ball control. It does not matter whether Bohannon or Sharpen is under center. The Bears will stick to their running game with Abram Smith, 1,429 yards and 12 touchdowns, and Treston Ebner, 763 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ole Miss surrendered more than 200 rushing yards in 6 games this season. Second-team All-American Sam Williams, 12.5 tackles for loss, can be a disruptive force, and he'll have to be against the Bears. Number 2, Matt Corral's big stage. Corral made it a point to play in the New Year's Day Six Bowl, and that's huge for the Rebels. Corral was arguably the most dynamic dual-threat quarterback in the FBS, with 3,333 passing yards, 378 rushing yards, and 31 total touchdowns. Corral had a 72.4% completion percentage in the Rebels' last 4 games, and that will be a test for a Baylor secondary led by Petrie. The Bears allowed 7.3 yards per passing attempt. And number 3, which receiver makes the big play? Baylor's Tyquan Thornton, 61 catches, 946 yards, and 9 TDs. and Dontario Drummond, 67 catches, 924 yards, and 8 touchdowns, have similar lines this season, and both will be in position to make the clutch catch in this game. The stat that matters, Ole Miss ran 77.4 plays a game in their up-tempo offense, and they averaged 6.5 yards a play. Baylor ran 67.6 plays a game and averaged 6.4 yards a play. Both teams allow about the same yardage on defense. Baylor allows 5.3 yards a play, and Ole Miss gives up 5.5 yards a play. The Rebels might go a little faster, but the Bears are used to that kind of style from Big 12 play. See which team wins yards per play, especially in the first half. Baylor allowed 30 points in just one game this season, and that was the 30-28 loss at TCU on November 6th. Levy will hammer the running game with Jerrion Ealy and Snoop Connor early, and that will set up Coral in the vertical passing game. Baylor will hang and have success on the ground, but the Rebels will play from ahead early and be able to keep the Bears one score away for 4 quarters. Lane Kiffin earns an impressive victory and builds the hype for 2022. I got Ole Miss winning the Sugar Bowl. Ole Miss wins, final score 34-27. MF, Ole Miss and Baylor in the Sugar Bowl.
I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. There's no doubt about it. I got to go with Ole Miss, though. I think Ole Miss will definitely pull it out. Baylor, very fortunate to be in this situation as the Big 12 champions. But I do believe when it's all said and done, I think Ole Miss will figure it out. They'll get the big win. I got Ole Miss winning. So, Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm going with Ole Miss to win this one as well. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say except let's move on, Florio.
And gentlemen, it is now time for the 2 big ones. The college football playoff semifinals. And they will both be taking place this Friday, New Year's Eve, both on ESPN. And we're going to start it off with the Cotton Bowl Classic. Just give me one moment here. All right, here we go. The number 1, Alabama Crimson Tide, versus the number 4, Cincinnati Bearcats, in the college football playoff semifinal at the Cotton Bowl Classic. Kickoff is scheduled for 3:30 from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, on ESPN. And on the call for that one, it'll be Sean McDonough, Todd Blackledge, Molly McGrath, and Laura Rutledge on that one. And the spread favors, of course, it favors Alabama. Alabama opening up as a 13.5-point favorite. So there isn't much more to say except MF. There's nothing left to say except this is the classic. It's for those who love the David versus Goliath narrative. It's here in this game.
It's here. I mean, this is the biggest fish against the littlest minnow. This is Boise State versus this is the Boise State versus Oklahoma narrative. This is Cincinnati coming in, the little guy trying to take down the biggest dog in the yard. The reigning, defending, undisputed national champions. And this is the moment that Cincinnati wanted. If there was one team you wanted, maybe, if you want to solidify yourself and prove to be the best, this is it. But the thing is that you're dealing with Alabama and you're dealing with Nick Saban. And Nick Saban has had just about a month to prepare for this game. You know they're going to be ready. You know they are focused because to them, this is business as usual. They're not caught up in all the hoopla. They're not caught up in this moment of lull because they've been here before. They know what it takes to win this game. They know what they need to do, and they know how to handle the business. And at the end of the day, I think they can do it. Look, Cincinnati has been an incredible story, and they have. And I really want them to win it. I would love to see the upset. I would love to see Cincinnati knock off Alabama and play for the national championship. But I just don't see it. I think Bama is just too strong on too many different areas: quarterback play, wide receivers, running backs. I just don't see how this plays out. I'm sorry. Look, Cincinnati, I love you guys. You got all the respect from me and the boys. I just don't see it. I would love to see an upset, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Alabama wins. They're going to be playing in Vegas for the national championship. Michael Bullock, it's
Indy.
yours. Oh, it's Indianapolis. I'm sorry. Not Vegas. Indy.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like you said, this has been an unbelievable run for Cincinnati, but they are going up against the powerhouse team in Alabama. And yes, it's going to be a tough go. You know they're going to play hard, but I just think in the end, Alabama's going to be too much for them. So I'm in agreement with Fletch. Alabama wins. Florio, it's yours.
Alabama is making its 7th college football playoff appearance and looking for its 7th national championship since Nick Saban took over in 2007. Heisman Trophy winner Bryce Young leads an offense that averaged 42.5 points a game, and the Crimson Tide feature a defense led by Nagurski Trophy winner Will Anderson Jr. It's business as usual for Alabama, a 14-point favorite in the matchup. Cincinnati is the first Group of 5 school to make the CFP. The American Athletic Conference champions took the experience from last year's Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl appearance against Georgia and ran the table. Senior quarterback Desmond Ridder and Alabama transfer Jerome Ford lead the offense, and All-American cornerbacks Ahmad Gardner and Kobe Bryant led the defense. The winner earns a trip to the College Football Playoff Championship game on Monday, January 10th at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. And here are the 3 things you need to know about this game. Number 1, playmaking quarterbacks. Bryce Young won the Heisman Trophy after passing for 4,322 yards with 43 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He does not run as much, but he did have 40-plus rushing yards in the victories against Tennessee and Georgia. Ridder, meanwhile, is 43-5 as a starter for the Bearcats. He had 40-plus rushing yards in 5 games, but he's a pass-first quarterback and excellent decision-maker. Ridder threw 6 interceptions in Cincinnati's last 7 games, so he will have to protect the football. Number 2, Bama wide receivers versus Cincinnati cornerbacks. How does Alabama replace John Mechie III opposite Jamison Williams? That's a question worth watching because Cincinnati has 2 potential first-round cornerbacks in Gardner and Bryant. Both had a rating higher than 85 on Pro Football Focus this season. And the Bearcats allowed just 10 passing touchdowns. Trayshawn Holden, 211 yards and a touchdown. Javon Baker, 101 yards and a touchdown. And Ja'Cory Brooks, 79 yards and a touchdown, are the receivers with a chance to step up with Mechie III out. And the running game, at number 3, is the running game. Alabama's only CFP semifinal loss came to Ohio State in 2015 in a matchup where Ezekiel Elliott rushed for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ford, an Alabama transfer, has been the key to the Bearcats' running game. The Crimson Tide allowed just 2.5 yards to carry, and Anderson has 32.5 tackles for loss. On the flip side, Alabama's Brian Robinson Jr. will look for room against the Cincinnati defense that allowed just 3.3 yards to carry. The Crimson Tide are less dependent on the running game, but they cannot abandon it early. The stat that matters, since losing that first semifinal to Ohio State in 2015, the Crimson Tide have won their last 5 CFP semifinals by an average of 20.2 points a game. Alabama has outscored those 5 opponents, Michigan State, Washington, Clemson, Oklahoma, and Notre Dame, by a total score of 89-27 in the first half. Can Cincinnati upset that by scoring early against the Crimson Tide and avoiding that knockout punch? It won't be easy. Alabama will be aggressive early in the passing game with Young, even with Mechie out. Slade Bolden could be a frequent target to set up the deep passing game. The Crimson Tide will get ahead early, and Ridder will be taken out of his comfort zone in the passing game. The Bearcats will make a few plays, but the Crimson Tide have been in the spot too many times. The Crimson Tide cover with a late touchdown that sends a message to the Georgia-Michigan winner. I have Alabama winning this Cotton Bowl and moving on to yet another title game. Bama rolls, next victim, 40-20, Alabama all over Cincinnati. So with that being said, let's move on to our final game of the night, which is the other semifinal matchup in the college football playoff. It is the Orange Bowl, as it will feature, as soon as I can get it up and running here, and Michael Bullock will be leading off, so that's why he's got his mic on. So, and I know we got to get him quickly going here, so here we go. as it will be the number 2 Michigan Wolverines squaring off against the number 3 Maine and Georgia Bulldogs in the Orange Bowl on with kickoff is scheduled for 7:30 p.m. from Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. Game will be on ESPN, and on the call for that one will be Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe, and Marty Smith. And Georgia opening up as a 7.5-point favorite. So with that being said, Michael Bullock, Orange Bowl, number 2 Michigan, number 3 Georgia. Of course, Georgia's the favorite by 7.5. But the big question is, can Michigan keep this magical season going?
Man, this is a tough one here. I mean, Michigan. I mean, what they got to do is do what they did to Ohio State. They got to play their game. They got to run the ball, play really good defense, and make it really tough for Georgia. So, and who knows? Maybe after what happened with Georgia in the SEC title game, maybe Georgia exploited something. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. But this is a big game here. Ooh, this is a really tough one here. Very tough. As much as I want to go with Michigan to win this one, I got to go with the Maine and Georgia Bulldogs. They're going to want to bounce back in a very, very big way after losing in the SEC title game. So Georgia wins. Florio, it is yours.
All right. Michigan is making its first CFP appearance under Coach Jim Harbaugh. The Wolverines beat Ohio State for the first time since 2011 and won the Big Ten championship for the first time since 2004. Heisman Trophy finalist Aiden Hutchinson leads a defense that allows just 16.1 points a game, and quarterback Cade McNamara and running back Hassan Haskins led a run-heavy offense. Georgia plays with the same old-school formula. The Bulldogs are making their second CFP appearance under their coach Kirby Smart. Georgia lost 41-24 in the SEC championship game to Alabama, but the Bulldogs still allowed just 9.5 points a game. Defensive tackle Jordan Davis, linebacker Nakobe Dean, and safety Lewis Sine were all first-team All-Americans. Quarterback Stetson Bennett will start, and perhaps JT Daniels could see time off the bench. The winner earns a trip to the College Football Playoff Championship game on January 10th at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis against most likely Alabama. And with that in mind, here are the 3 things you need to know about this game. Number 1, can Michigan get a push up front? The Wolverines ranked 10th in the FBS with a power running game that averaged 223.8 yards a game. Hassan Haskins led the way with 1,288 yards and 20 touchdowns, and Blake Corum added 939 yards and 11 touchdowns. Georgia allowed just 81.7 rushing yards a game behind Davis and a strong front 7. Alabama and Georgia were the only 2 teams that averaged 4 yards a carry against the Bulldogs. Michigan must average more than that to have a chance. Number 2, Georgia's pass protection. The Bulldogs allowed just 11 sacks all season as a part of a high percentage attack led by Stetson Bennett. Georgia averaged 194.9 passing yards a game and 5.3 yards per attempt. And it will not abandon the run with Zamir White, 726 yards and 10 touchdowns, and James Cook, 629 yards, 7 touchdowns. Michigan must contain the ground game, and Hutchinson, 14 sacks, and David Ojabo, 11 sacks, have to get home in pressure situations. And number 3, QB splitting snaps. Bennett is Georgia's starter, but will JT Daniels work into the mix as a changeup? Smart would not divulge how much Daniels has worked with the first team in practice. Cade McNamara has been an efficient playmaker for Michigan, but freshman J.J. McCarthy brings a different skill set to the field. The Wolverines will use McCarthy in certain packages. McCarthy has thrown at least 1 pass in 10 games this season. In the end, Bennett and McNamara, who have similar passing stats this season, will be in control in crunch time unless something drastic happens. The stat that matters, Georgia averages 22.7 first downs a game, slightly ahead of Michigan at 22.4. Both teams have a methodical offensive attack that relies on ball control. On defense, the Bulldogs allowed 14.4 first downs a game. The Wolverines allowed 16.7 in the same category. Tennessee, Florida, and Alabama were the only teams that had at least 20 first downs on the Bulldogs. Michigan allowed 20 or more first downs 5 times. This is a category the Wolverines need to win. SEC Big Ten bowl matchups carry extra heat, and this one should be fun. The Bulldogs are 9-2 in bowl games against Big Ten schools, but they have split their last 4 games. The Wolverines are 8-8 in bowl games against SEC schools, and Harbaugh is 1-3 with 3 straight losses. Georgia will jump ahead early, and it will take Michigan time to adjust to the Bulldogs' front 7. Bennett will find tight end Brock Bowers for a pair of touchdowns. McNamara will bounce back from a rough first half to lead a rally in the second half. But the Bulldogs stay ahead throughout and set up a rematch with Alabama for the national championship. And now, don't get me wrong, MF and Bullock, I want to see Michigan win the national. I want to see Michigan win this game just as badly as you guys do. Well, Bullock already left, but MF, I want Michigan to win just as badly as you guys do. But at the end of the day, I have to go with the Made in Georgia Bulldogs to win this one. I'm sorry to say. 29-21, Georgia gets by Michigan, and it will set up that Georgia-Alabama rematch that the committee's going to damn sure want. So with that, 29-21, Made in Georgia wins. MF, this is our game. And as the Kirk Herbstreit to my Chris Fowler, wrap it up by doing that thing I like. Hello, friends.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough matchup, and this is going to be a big game. Look, everybody was talking about how Michigan needed to get over the hurdle, and they did when they finally beat Ohio State. Then that next hurdle was to win the Big Ten. They got through that in convincing fashion. Now it's, can they live up and play in a big battle, a big game? And I don't know. I think a lot of people feel like this could be a big matchup and that this could be an opportunity, but we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. But I will say this. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great battle. Georgia definitely is the favorite, and I'm not surprised that they are. Michigan does like to play from the underdog role. Can they pull it off? Can they win it? We'll have to wait and see how this goes. But it's going to be one way or another. It's going to be tight to the end. I want Michigan to win. Obviously, I want Michigan to win. If they don't, then it will be a heartbreaker. But there's really nothing more to say. So, yeah, great game. There's really nothing more to add. So, I'm done. Anthony, let's just wrap it up.
You got Georgia winning?
No, obviously, I got Michigan winning. But the thing is, I know the writing's on the wall, and I know a lot of people's picking Georgia. So,
right. Yeah. All right. So, with that being said, that will put the bow on this very special edition of Strictly Sports. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in all year long, whether it was our regular Strictly Sports shows, our College Football Thursday shows, our NFL shows, whether they were on Thursday or Saturday. We thank you so much for all your support. Just like with the Wrestling Forum, we thank you for this as well. I mean, we can't do it without you guys. I mean, you are the best fans in the world. You've always have been, and we appreciate all the love and support you've given us all these years. And next year is going to mark 10 years of both the Wrestling Forum and Strictly Sports, and I'm sure we're going to have big specials to commemorate the 10-year anniversaries. So, but anywho, that will put the bow on it for this. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning into this and all year long. We will next be with you tomorrow night for the final Wednesday Night Mayhem of 2021. That will be hosted by good old MF Michael Fletcher over on his channel, BraceFan95, at the same time as always, as we will review NXT 2.0 and AEW Dynamite. And then Thursday will be our final NFL show of 2021. It'll be our Week 17 edition of Strictly Sports NFL Thursday, which will be dedicated to the memory of John Madden, as you see right there. And, of course, the headline game, obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs against the Cincinnati Bengals, although we got some other big implication games to get into. But we'll get into all of it on Thursday night for Week 17. And that will be our final show of 2021 altogether, as we will not have a show on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday due to our observance of the New Year's Eve and New Year's Day holidays. And then after Thursday, we'll be back with you Monday for Ridiculously Raw, special edition of Ridiculously Raw, where we will review not just Monday Night Raw, but we're not even going to do that first. We're gonna start it off by reviewing the WWE Day 1 pay-per-view. So we're going to do that on Monday. And I forgot to mention tomorrow night, in addition to our reviews of NXT 2.0 and AEW Dynamite, we will also preview that WWE Day 1 pay-per-view as well. So Monday will be the recap of that and the review of Monday Night Raw for our first Ridiculously Raw 2022. And then we go from there as we'll be back to our normal schedule by then. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for Wednesday Night Mayhem over on the MF channel, Brace Fan 95, this is Anthony Florio here for Good Old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, Michael Bullock, Dee Woodson, and of course, the man who put it all together 10 plus years ago, the one and the only Yankee Messiah 401, Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. What up, Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Wednesday. And until tomorrow night for Wednesday Night Mayhem, you've been watching the Strictly Sports 2021 Year in Review special right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye. And as we leave tonight, we would like to have one last moment of respect for the legend who passed away tonight, John Madden, who passed away tonight at the age of 85. And once again, our thoughts and prayers and condolences to his family, his friends, and all who were fortunate enough to work with him. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration. But most of all, thank you for John Madden. Good night, my friends from Strictly Sports.